the New 80s Revolution with Jason Nupp, a one and all show full of fun where anything can and does happen. Pickups, fan mail, toy reviews, camping with the New 80s Revolution Jr. Whatever the heck else does not fit into a specific category, Jason covers it right here, folks. And now, the host of the New 80s Revolution, Jason Nupp.
What's up, guys? Jason Nupp, New 80s Revolution, down here in the cave on a beautiful, balmy Sunday. That's right. It's about 93 here in good old upstate New York, Rochester. And we are fresh out of the pool. And yeah, we're in the house now. So what better time to come down here and hang out with some of you guys. Now the room change is complete. No big stereo here. No stereo. So we've got full view of the McDonald's goodies. Right below that, you can't see, is a row and a half of VHS tapes. We've got the 80s stuff up there. So, and more importantly, I've got room. That's good. So, you know, stereo had to go. Quickly, what else? What were we going to say? I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. Big surprise. Next Tuesday, if all goes well, if we don't have a cancellation or something falls through, next Tuesday, I'm going to be on location from a not a grand opening, but a brand new store that has hit Rochester, and it's awesome. It is an adult collectible store. It has the biggest wall of WWE, Mattel Elites you've ever seen. Why am I talking about Elites? Well, because my two kids love them. They're collecting them like animals, and that makes Dad happy. NECA and Superhero and Funko Pops, everything. So we're going to go check out that store, and there's a shocker. There's definitely a shocker involved. Wait till you see who's running the store. We'll just leave it at that. It's big. Okay. So that'll be next. I'm doing that not this Tuesday. I'm doing that the 6th, I believe it is, of July, and so we'll get that up we'll get it up that day. What else was I going to say? I thought I had something to say. RetroCon is coming. A couple of you guys, RetroCon is in September. Steel City Con is in August. And a couple of you guys have already said that you're going to be at either. You're going to be at RetroCon or you're going to be at Steel City. So hopefully I'll be able to see some of you guys and say hello, and I'll rock the New 80s Revolution gear, so you know it's me, okay? You know it's me. All right, let's do the top 5. Let's get back to the top 5 LJN figures that should have been made. We are up to 1987. Whoa. So we're looking at the top 5 WWF LJN Wrestling Superstars that should have been made. There we go. In 1987. Starting off, so 1987 was obviously the year of WrestleMania 3. Anyway, WrestleMania 3, and would I say it was my peak of wrestle fandom? No, I don't think it was the peak, but I was in. I was super in 1986. I was very in 1987, and that kind of reminds me of maybe a future top 5, my top 5 favorite WrestleManias of all time. I can promise you there won't be one past 10. But we'll do my top 5 WrestleManias. But anyway, 1987, I was I was loving it. It was the year of the first Survivor Series, which I absolutely loved the former concept of the Survivor Series. And then, of course, everything has to change. And in fact, I think like within the last 10 or 15 years, there was a Survivor Series that didn't have elimination matches, I think. I wasn't watching, but I think I remember like there was a Survivor Series that didn't have Survivor Series matches. Like they brought it back, But anyway, I loved the 1987 Survivor Series. Loved the concept. I loved the tag team Survivor Series because there was like 800 guys all around the ring. It was 20 men. It was 10 against 10. You gotta go to the bathroom, babe?
No.
No? Okay. Usually when you hold your junk, you gotta go to the bathroom. Or you just hold your junk. So anyway, here's the top 5 LJN Wrestling Superstars that should have been made in 1987, starting off with Outlaw Ron Bass. Yes, sir, Outlaw Ron Bass. Now, in 85 and 86, I was also spending a lot of time with the NWA on WTBS. I loved it. Loved it for different reasons. Didn't love it more, didn't love it less, just loved it for different reasons. And Ron Bass was a legitimate bad guy in the NWA. And then in 87, of course, looking for the continued Vince takeover and maybe looking for a bigger payday, Ron Bass comes to Vinnie Mac land and, kind of carries on the same, super cowboy bad guy gimmick. I love the... and maybe that'll be another show. My top 5 favorite wrestling gimmicks. Not my top 5 characters or wrestlers. Maybe my top 5 gimmicks. Because I like the grizzly cowboy, in the 80s. Your Ron Basses, your Black Barts, guys like that. Even Blackjack Mulligan. I liked that. The tough, ornery Texan gimmick. So Ron Bass was kind of allowed to keep that in WWF. And, of course, he had a whip, and, of course, they named the whip Miss Betsy. And, of course, they would, siphon in over-the-top whip sounds on WWF TV. And, he was a mid-carder at best, I suppose. The one thing, but I think he would have made a great figure. I think he would have made a great figure, especially with the Miss Betsy accessory. You drill a little hole in his hand and you stick the whip handle in there, and we've got an Outlaw Ron Bass. Again, many customs I have seen, and I haven't decided yet as of now who the thumbnail custom is going to be. But I've definitely seen Ron Bass customs. I've seen many that are made out of the Bruno Sammartino body. To me, that's a absolutely perfect body for a Ron Bass custom. But I can't fix that for you, Finn. I can't do that.
Can you lower it up for me?
Lower it up? Finley's playing some gamage on the phone here, and he's interrupting the show, which he knows is the number one thing not to do. Back up from the camera so they don't hear that. Back up. Okay, good. So anyway, Ron Bass would have made a great... Here, let me see that. Ron Bass would have made a great LJN. Sorry, I'm being distracted. This is why the children shouldn't be down here. There you go. But it's the 5-year-old, and how can you say no to his cute curly red hair? As I was saying, Ron Bass would have made a great LJN in that... Oh, the thing that I remember most about him was that they put him in a feud with Brutus Beefcake for some reason. And one of those classic, censored for TV moments, in a brutal attack, Ron Bass carved up the forehead of Brutus Beefcake with his spurs. Because, of course, if you're a cowboy and you're a wrestler, you have to come to the ring with spurs on, right? Because you're a cowboy. And they did the beautiful classic thing that I just remember so much from early childhood, so much from like 83, 84, the big red X, the big red sensor on the screen. WWF Superstars would not show the blood on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. with millions of kiddies watching. So they put the red X on the screen, and Vince McMahon oversold the bloody forehead of Brutus Beefcake as Ron Bass was just carving him up. Good stuff. Ron Bass, the LJN that never was. The second, again, seeing customs of this guy, it's usually just a repainted Tito Santana, which is just bad. We're talking about Dangerous Danny Davis. Yes. The evil referee gimmick has been beaten to death, but it wasn't beaten to death when I started seeing it for the first time in 1987. Late 86 into 87. It wasn't beaten to death through my eyes because I hadn't seen it before, right? So here I am, a kid, and the buildup was so great to Danny Davis turning heel. So great. There were so many little subtle things that he would do. Vince and the commentators would start questioning it, but not over questioning it. And then there was just these moments of blatant bad refereeing. And then, of course, Jack Tunney comes out and says, "Enough is enough. Danny Davis, you are suspended for life from refereeing." And then he became Danny Davis, the wrestler. Now, as a kid, I often wondered, how did he do that? Because usually the referees, when they're bumped in the slightest bit, they collapse to the ground. They're laid out for hours, just from a wrestler backing into them. They're flailing and they fall and they're gone. The referee is the weakest people in the world. So how is it that Danny Davis was able to be a wrestler? Well, I think there was some training montages and he was training from week to week, I assume, on Superstars. But in reality, Danny Davis was a trained and quite experienced WWF wrestler. He wrestled a lot in 83 and 84 while refereeing. He was often the masked executioner or the executioner, maybe even a couple of other names under a mask. Whenever we needed a masked guy, Dr. Red or something, I don't know, the Red Demon, I don't know. But the executioner was Danny Davis. Unfortunately, not the executioner for WrestleMania 1. The opening match of WrestleMania had Tito Santana taking on the executioner. That was not Danny Davis. That was Playboy Buddy Rose. But anyway, Danny Davis was a wrestler, and a decent one, apparently. He looked like a great wrestler. And then I don't remember what happened when he got reinstated as a referee. I forget. It's been so long. But he aligned with the Hart Foundation and Jimmy Hart, and it was great. And he was a, mid-card, fun guy. Just beat him up, toss him around. Loved it. So Danny Davis definitely deserved a figure wrestler, Danny Davis. The next two are tag teams. Everybody has been telling me that these guys need to be on the list, and they are now finally on the list. Jacques and Raymond, the Rujo Brothers. You kind of the most vanilla tag team that I've ever seen. Even the Killer Bees had a little bit more fire, and they were very vanilla too. But the Rujos, just boring. Then they tried to turn them bad, which was just as boring, And I remember how they would turn them bad. They would make them like over love the U.S. and to the point where like people weren't buying it anymore. And then that was the beginning of the heel turn. Like they would over support the U.S. They just loved the U.S. and the crowd just booed them. Never a title run for the Rujos. Should they have? I don't know. I think they were fine where they were, but needed figures. definitely needed figures. I've seen customs made from the Killer Bees. Again, just repainting the Killer Bees. Very good paint work, you know, on the trunks and like the little Montreal symbol or whatever, the French symbol. But, you know, it's a painted B. Brian Blair and a painted Jim Brunzell. Jacques and Raymond. And then, of course, you know, Jacques went on to have the Mountie gimmick, and just, that's when wrestling kind of went downhill for me. But the Rujos definitely should have had figures. Now, this tag team I chose because I was thinking of two tag teams. Two sort of lower card tag teams, right? I was thinking of the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers, who I really liked the concept of a lower card tag team that could get some victories. And both fantastic wrestlers, so we could have some great 20, 25-minute matches with the Hart Foundation. And the other tag team I was going to choose was the Conquistadors, who for whatever reason excelled at the 1987 Survivor Series, and, you know, were always around for most of 87 and picked up some wins and had some good performances. When really, I believe it was Jose Luis Rivera and Jose Estrada under the mask. Now, if it was Estrada, he was fantastic. If it was Rivera, I've never liked any of Rivera's matches. I just thought they're always botchy, and they're always, like, he's very hesitant and he doesn't know how to, you know, so I don't know why the Conquistadors did so well together. So I decided to pass the Conquistadors and go with the Young Stallions as a team that should have been made in 1987. Now, finally, my least favorite wrestler of all time, but he had a very interesting comeback in 87. In 85 and a little bit of 86, he was over in NWA. And he was just doing some, you know, TV show work. I think he might have gotten into something with Abdullah the Butcher over there in NWA. But then he came back to the WWF, and he was full-on tie-dye, handlebar mustache, earrings hanging from the ear. Superstar Billy Graham would have probably made a good LJN in 1987. And they had every intention of bringing him back as a wrestler. And in fact, he was on the main event team of the first Survivor Series. And he got replaced by someone. Paul Orndorff, I think, replaced Superstar Billy Graham. But he was originally going to be on Hogan's team in the first Survivor Series. But by that point, his body was completely falling apart, due to all of the abuse and steroids and blah, 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 and his hip was a disaster, and so he couldn't do it. He couldn't wrestle, and so they did the injury gimmick with him, where he aligned with Don Morocco. They did the injury, and then that was it. That was it for Superstar Billy Graham. Never really getting into any kind of full-on comeback. In some of the early print ads for Survivor Series 1, he's on the posters. He's on with Hogan's team. Do I like him? No, of course not. I can't stand him. But he would have made a cool figure with a tie-dye, you know, the larger-than-life body, you know, the rippled body, and the tie-dye. I think they should have had him in the tie-dye tank top. That would have been cool, Superstar Billy Graham. So that's it. That 5. Ron Bass, the Outlaw with Miss Betsy. Whoosh. Dangerous Danny Davis. The Rujos, the Young Stallions, and Superstar Billy Graham. Round out 1987. We'll be back with 1988. We'll be back with 1989. And then we'll be back with a year that never was, 1990. And that'll be that. Thanks for hanging out with me. See y'all soon. Stay cool if you're in hot weather. Whatever. Good night now.